We are at an inflection point, a turning point in this community. We can decide either to continue to move piece by piece into existing cities over time, losing a central voice and the ability to plan for our area comprehensively, or we can take our destiny into our own hands. Doing so in order to maximize the most benefit for area residents and now for the county as a whole is what the move to integrated city-county government is all about. My name is Andrew Flake. I'm one of our volunteer board members with Vista Grove Initiative. VGI was formed to foster conversation about our civic options, to learn, educate, and discuss community's future, including potential cityhood options. I got involved with Vista Grove because, like many of you, I live in and love the area. I have children in DeKalb schools. I actually grew up here. I graduated from Tucker High School, and I know this is a great area. We want to maintain and enhance our quality of life. My own experience has been showing up, getting involved, taking action, just like you're doing here tonight, makes a real and positive impact. But Vista Grove is not any one person's project, Vista Grove Initiative's project, my project, or any neighborhood or group project. It is a shared effort and a shared movement, and it will take the participation of everyone here tonight, and indeed many more besides, to move forward. Here's a basic truth, one that is easy to forget, especially given all of the cynical rhetoric we've heard at the national level recently. It is a privilege to be part of and to form local government. The changes that make the most difference in our day-to-day quality of life, connected sidewalks, new parks and trails, attractive and accessible retail and shopping, those all happen at the local government level. As one of our community's legislative leaders, Sally Harrell, Senator Harrell, has said, local governance matters. It's the final safety net should the larger government fail the people. And we've really seen the truth of that keenly in recent months. The fundamental purpose of that safety net, of course, is to maximize the well-being of all of the area's residents. So on that subject of well-being, let's start by asking, where do you get the most joy and fulfillment in your day? I would guess it's not from a long commute or sitting in traffic, especially if what you're driving past is a cluttered intersection or a wide expanse of cracked asphalt. It's not from having to walk down your street and be brushed aside when there is no sidewalk and a car passes. And I'm sure it's not driving for 15 minutes on the interstate to get to a local park, spend some time in the outdoors. Imagine instead spending a day in a community that you have designed together with your neighbors to create real fulfillment. During the week, you can walk or bike down a continuous path or sidewalk to your children's school. On the weekend or after work, you can walk or bike using those same connections to reach a shopping area like Toco Hill or Embry Hills or North Lake, or bike to one of our area parks. As you walked or biked, or perhaps took a community shuttle, you would see new area parks that had been acquired. You would see a recreation center being built that would be a center for activities and adult education and programming, youth education and programming in the area. And as the hub of that transit, the Vista Grove Greenway, a multi-use trail running in our area from south to north, with offshoots connecting our schools, our retail and commercial areas, our parks, and other community spaces. This vision is based on real examples enabled by city-county partnership all around us, and it's one that we can fulfill here in this area too. But to accomplish it, is going to require the hard work of citizen engagement. It's going to require our patient participation in the ongoing process of city creation. The transition to a city-county form of government and maintaining a successful city depends on the whole community, the showing up, the voting, the study, the active participation on committees of all of us, of the whole community. It means that you make a decision, perhaps here tonight, that this work has meaning for you, that you want change, and that you're ready to take action. Let's talk first about how city-county partnership works. Second, what it would look like in the case of Vista Grove. And third, how you can help move the process forward. To begin with, we are already surrounded by areas with a city-county form of government: Atlanta, Brookhaven, Chamblee, Dorville, Tucker. In all of those areas, residents are making the decisions about which services are best delivered through the city and which through the county. Typically, an intensely local area like parks or zoning is the one the cities are choosing to handle. More non-local services with economies of scale are the ones that the county is continuing to handle. This cooperation moves those local services closer to the people they serve. Let me repeat that. It's moving those local services closer to the people they serve. There is no duplication of effort. By law, the cities and counties work together to develop a service delivery strategy that ensures no overlap in coverage and maximum efficiency. Just as we elect representatives to the Georgia General Assembly and then to the U.S. Congress, there are different focus areas. City staff work on different areas than county staff, just as city elected leaders, council members, focus on different areas than county commissioners. The work is not an extra layer. The work is complementary. They're working together and cooperating in a complementary fashion. If anything, moving those local services closer to the people that they serve means a smaller, more efficient government with less bureaucracy. And it is important to note, recent cities in DeKalb have not only not raised their tax millage rates, they have actually been able to lower them. Tucker and Brookhaven are examples. When new cities have formed in DeKalb, it has been a recognition that they have matured and evolved. That evolution includes growth in population and in citizen engagement to the point that those areas are ready for their own voice. This is just common sense. Serving over 700,000 residents, county government necessarily has to be very selective about its priorities. Only so much can be accomplished at that level and serving that vast population, which is where cities have stepped in. Even if you're in one of our active neighborhood associations, I'm sure you have experienced that your influence on certain issues seems to wane beyond the borders of your neighborhood. A city with elected leaders drawn from your neighborhood and able to focus on just this area gives you additional voice and reach. Our neighborhoods, from Leafmore Creek to Echo Park, on up to Emory Hills, meet all the criteria for areas that can benefit from a city-county form of government. Moving to that form of government is not an issue of partisan politics. It is not partisan in any way. The mayor and city council are elected on a nonpartisan basis, and the issues they engage with are not partisan either. They're fulfilling priorities for improvement of the area's residents, keeping in mind the larger needs of the county and working in the region and with other municipalities. Take parks, for example. Instead of just one group of neighbors having to shoulder the entire load of new park creation, you have an entire department focused on park creation and recreation in this area. Needed projects get propelled forward proactively. The city is supplying energy and support to those citizen efforts. One of the most exciting of these potential projects I alluded to earlier, the Vista Grove Greenway. We're situated between two vibrant river tributaries, the North Fork and South Forks of Peachtree Creek. Let's take a look. Imagine a multi-use trail between them, running from the south to the north. The Vista Grove Greenway would sit at the center of an active bike and trail network with offshoot connections to our schools, our retail shopping areas, our churches and synagogues, and our parks and other public spaces. We move from Medlock Park and the South Fork Trail System on up to Fisher Park, connecting up with the Peachtree Creek Greenway, and further north to Embry Hills. We would truly have a gem in the emerging regional trail system here, and an incredible enhancement to our quality of life. But while the notion of such a connection and even general concept maps have been around for more than 20 years, it's time to begin that work. It's time to acquire easements. It's time to make a specific plan. It's time to begin allocating funds and taking steps to make the Vista Grove Greenway a reality. Look at the contrast to the west, where Brookhaven, Chamblee, and Dorville have gotten behind the Peachtree Creek Greenway. They have been working to connect themselves segment by segment, focusing on building out that trail system. Tucker is working on its own expanded trail system. The work is going on in cities across the region. Just imagine, too, what it would mean to be plugged in to a regional trail system that eventually will be able to connect us all the way to the Atlanta Beltline. All around the metro, local citizen engagement on trails, backed with active, locally focused government, is making that happen. It's incredibly exciting, and we have a chance to be a part of it. This work of connection is exciting. We don't have to remain the way we are, marooned and unconnected. The city government, with its own parks department, will be focused just on specific planning and implementation for this area, with examples like the Vista Grove Greenway. In a sphere like that, the city is well situated to complete the work and move it forward now and in the short term, not many years down the road. The good news is that we are close. The creation of the city government begins in the Georgia legislature with a bill that's introduced, including a city charter, and that authorizes a vote by residents in the area. This year, in the last legislative session, two of our local state senators, Senators Elena Parent and Sally Harrell, with support from Representative Mary Margaret Oliver, introduced legislation that would permit such a vote for Vista Grove. The coronavirus shortened the legislative session, and that bill didn't move forward, but we anticipate that it will be reintroduced this coming year. We hope and expect that will mean our area will have an opportunity for a vote in November of 2021. Following a successful vote, there is then a smooth 2-year transition process of preparing city operation. During that time, city elections are held. The new city government during that time solicits intensive input from residents in order to identify priorities and develop a long-term plan. That plan aligns the priorities of the new city with its residents and its neighborhoods. Some of those priorities, we know, they're clear. The area wants to improve our bike lane and sidewalk network. We want to preserve and expand our parks and recreational offerings. We want to regularly repair and maintain and pave our roads. We want to have more say on how growth and development in our area happen. During this transition period, as those priorities are developed, the new city is working hand in hand with the county on the transition. After that transition period, the new city would offer 3 services: roads and drainage, parks and recreation, and planning and zoning. We refer to those sometimes as the 3 Ps: paving, parks, and planning. They're 3 intensely local services that benefit from local knowledge and local engagement and are most directly used by impacted members of the community. The county would continue to handle all other services, including police. Although a new city could have supported its own independent police force, both Vista Grove Initiative and the legislators sponsoring the Vista Grove bill believe it's important for a host of reasons that the area continue to use and support the Cal Police Department. So in a city-county form of government, we are balancing benefits: local control over the backyard, bread and butter issues and services that impact you most, and on the other hand, benefiting from the economies of scale over a more widely dispersed area when the county offers services. In meeting future needs, we enjoy flexibility in how to deliver those services through the county, through competitive bid, or public-private partnership, or even working with other cities. We have the ability to adapt and respond more quickly to challenges that have not yet arisen. Prompt local city action during the coronavirus pandemic's early days provides a recent example. So do local city initiatives to promote diversity and inclusion in their businesses and residential patterns, including through affordable housing. Working to ensure adequate, fair housing for all residents, teachers, firefighters, other community heroes who want to live in the community that they serve. This city-county model works. We now have decades of experience in DeKalb with city-county government, and in the past 10 to 12 years especially, with both new cities forming successfully and long-standing cities. Take Chamblee as an example, entering a new era of growth and vitality. In fact, I think you can describe this as an era of active city-county cooperation. You'll often hear us at Vista Grove Initiative and our county CEO and other elected officials referring to the DeKalb cities and to the county as partners. This partnership, this cooperation is yielding great results. From cooperation in trail construction, we talked about, to shared park school projects, to joint transit planning, and on and on and on. Now, thus far, we have in Vista Grove, unfortunately, been missing out on many of the benefits of that city-county cooperation. And moving the work of city creation forward will help address that. Now, certainly it needs to be said that from time to time, cities themselves disagree, and even the county and cities may on certain issues. The recent annexations by Brookhaven of property at North Druid Hills Road in Briarcliff provides an example. In the view of many of the county's elected officials and indeed residents of Vista Grove, Brookhaven may have acted too unilaterally and without sufficient regards to impacts on our schools in offering tax abatements and in trying to encourage annexation of those properties into Brookhaven. I would offer, however, that Brookhaven and that activity may be more of an outlier. Brookhaven's charted a direction for its own development that doesn't fit necessarily with what other cities want, certainly not what most residents in Vista Grove want. Insofar as we've heard those views expressed over the years in many meetings and forums. And this is really another point in favor of choosing to incorporate ourselves now, rather than becoming part of an existing city. We can decide on the kind of development that works for us. By handling our own planning and zoning through a city actively, it's not happening to us passively. When we plan out our future in this way, we're reducing the risk of haphazard development and lost opportunity. We're choosing not just to develop, but to design. And to be precise, it's really overdevelopment, not growth and development as such, that we want to avoid. The right kind of development serves the community and is necessary to its enhancement. Attractive commercial and multi-use additions make our aesthetic more attractive. They contribute to convenience and quality of life. They also help with area finances. Although Vista Grove already enjoys a strong residential tax base and other revenue streams, adding new businesses decreases reliance on residential city taxes. It allows the city to enhance the level and scope of service that it provides. The key is that growth and development is part of a thoughtful and comprehensive plan that we have developed together. Brookhaven itself and Tucker, as an example, have been able to actually reduce their overall city millage rates, such that a resident of one of those cities now, who owns a home of the same value, is paying less than corresponding resident in unincorporated DeKalb. In addition to economic development and the service delivery aspects we've talked about, we know that cities are excellent at building community. In the city of Vista Grove, expect more and better festivals and sponsored community events. Expect a lively level of communication about those events and support for local organizational efforts. Expect opportunities for committee service and volunteerism. Expect recreational programming and a recreation facility to fill a needed gap, especially in the lives of our young people. In all of these areas, being part of the city is giving us a more direct role in shaping how our neighborhoods and communities move forward and develop. We have more voice on the projects that are important and in how funds are used to implement them. A city is looking in a comprehensive way across all of our residents and neighborhoods and community areas together. We're often asked about remaining in the ever-shrinking unincorporated area. The shaded areas here are existing cities. The green boundary would be the proposed border of the city of Vista Grove. While no one has a crystal ball, based on our study, current trends, and discussions with many of our elected officials and other stakeholders, we do not see remaining unincorporated as a viable option any longer. The forces that impel city creation have been set in motion. The attractiveness of the city-county model is causing businesses to choose to move from unincorporated DeKalb into nearby cities to take advantage of that model. When those businesses move into nearby cities, the neighborhoods that are near them then feel pressure. They want a way to influence decisions being made that may impact them. And that pressure is forcing them to move. The La Vista Park neighborhood, which moved into Brookhaven, is a recent example. To be clear, these are not cities forcing businesses and neighborhoods to move. These are choices those neighborhoods and businesses are making themselves, often as a result of this cycle of annexation. Not being a city is placing those neighborhoods at a disadvantage. As Senator Carroll and Senator Parent remarked in a joint statement discussing their sponsorship of a bill to permit a Vista Grove vote. There is a disadvantage there. They wrote, as the unincorporated area is now surrounded by existing cities, some neighborhoods have been impacted by multiple annexations of nearby areas. This leaves those living in the unincorporated area at a disadvantage when it comes to choosing a path forward. In addition, as the area is impacted by regional developments, such as the Georgia Department of Transportation top-end managed toll lane project, the surrounding city leaders have a voice at the table that the unincorporated area lacks. Here again, this issue of annexation is not speculative. Since we began studying the issue more than 3 years ago, and it's been talked about for longer than that, this prediction has been fulfilled time and time again. Briarcliff Village Shopping Center annexed into Tucker, North Lake Mall annexed into Tucker. These are projects that typically prefer a more streamlined, locally focused permitting project, often because they have particular expansion or improvement plans in mind. Emory University annexed property into the city of Atlanta. Brookhaven has, through its own annexations, continued to move down the North Druid Hills corridor. As further commercial annexation continues, we mentioned the Vista Park, it's eating away at the borders. It also saps financial resources and limits the option of a potential new city. Right now, the new city of Vista Grove would rest on a strong revenue base and diverse sources of revenue. But as businesses move out of the area, that's an opportunity lost to reinvest in the area. It's an opportunity lost to bring additional revenue in to help support and improve the area. There is one way to stop that process, but we believe our last meaningful opportunity is coming up in 2021. If we don't want to be subject to continued piecemeal annexation, we can shape our own plans through the thoughtful creation of a new city. Otherwise, we can stand by while this cycle of annexation of commercial continues, while this cycle of compelled neighborhood annexations continues. It will work its way over time, as it necessarily has to, from the border inside, creating a shrinking residential donut hole at the center. To date, that's been happening parcel by parcel on a piecemeal basis. At some point, if the trend continues, it may indeed push existing cities and the legislators to consider a more organized proposal for some kind of larger annexation for the area. Right now, we already know current neighboring cities have commissioned a university study at the University of Georgia of what overall cityhood, overall municipalization would look like for the whole county, for all the remaining unincorporated areas. From their perspective, that's an understandable and appropriate exercise. But in our area, remaining unincorporated areas, we need to be clear-eyed about what that means for us. Turning to the proposed map of Vista Grove. The originally proposed map included areas outside of the perimeter, outside of I-285. In the legislators' revisions to the map last year, those borders were changed to limit themselves to entirely inside the perimeter. Tucker, Brookhaven, and Chamblee abut to the east and west, and North Druid Hills, including the Tocco Hills commercial area, generally run along the southern border. That change essentially cut the city population in half, but made the proposed city more of an in-town city. For some, this is frustrating. In the larger Vista Grove area, we're all part of the same community. We shop and worship in the same places, attend the same schools, take our families to recreation to the same places. Not being in the map, you may feel left out, and we understand. If you're now adjoining the Vista Grove map, but your neighborhood was not included as part of this revision, know that you do and will have options for inclusion in the future. As we think about the area outside of city's borders, let me also say a word about how city growth can serve as a rising tide, one that benefits not just area residents, but the county as a whole. There is an old canard, a false narrative that the city-county relationship is oppositional. That's simply not the case. The mayors and the county CEO regularly acknowledge the reality. City-county government is a valuable partnership. The model is extremely cooperative. Suggesting otherwise or stoking an oppositional mentality is simply outmoded thinking. It doesn't reflect how the county and the city partners are working together in the county every single day. Vista Grove Initiative, from the beginning, has thought extensively about the ways that we can take that cooperation and move it forward even further, strengthening the whole county in the process. Keep in mind that in general, the portion of the overall tax bill for people who live in a city that goes to the city is a very small fraction. Here's a sample tax bill for an approximately $300,000 property. That one line item, unincorporated tax district with the red arrow on the left, shows the only line item, the only revenue that if a city forms is then mapped over and paid to the city. That's it. Here on this tax bill, out of an approximately $4,000 annual bill, it's about $225. It's generally somewhere between 5 and 6% of the overall net tax bill. Very, very small portion. And there will be opportunities to recapture even that amount through more efficient operation, which is what the nature of city-county partnership inherently provides. Transferring that small, specific designated revenue to a new city also doesn't mean and hasn't any cut in service level or any increased tax in remaining unincorporated areas. Bearing that out is county millage rates over time in the budget, and the fact that the county has adapted to other incorporations, including Tucker and Brookhaven, and continue to thrive. The county will even have opportunities for adding revenue for expanded services. An example is the recent and ongoing expansion of the countywide sanitation services, an excellent value proposition for residents. Pine Lake and Stone Mountain have switched, and there was discussion of an anticipated Doraville switch as well. So that is that flexibility again, cities making decisions to use the county for certain services. Also, we and the legislators sponsoring the Vista Grove bill intend that a city of Vista Grove will continue to use and support the DeKalb Police Department rather than creating an independent police force. Why is that so important? It means the designated police revenue for our area stays in our area and stays with the DeKalb Police Department. You can see on your tax bill that separate line item for police services, and it is a substantial amount. If a neighborhood area in Vista Grove moves to a city that has its own police force, a Chamblee or Brookhaven or Dorville, the revenue for that area is then paid into those cities to fund their police force. It's not then available for DeKalb PD. Not only does the city of Vista Grove keep police revenue in DeKalb County, we believe working with DeKalb PD, as we've already seen, provides opportunities for close collaboration, community policing, and enhanced public safety. I'll say it again, these results are not speculative. They're proven and concrete. We know the benefits that can be realized because neighboring cities are delivering them. In all these service areas we've been talking about, and in communities like ours around us, the city-county government form has been tested and it's proven itself with flying colors. The key has been giving engaged citizens a helping hand, a boost in energy and resources and planning to make their dreams for community improvement a reality. There's an energy that courses through these projects, an active magic when you put smart planning and active local government behind engaged citizen initiative. The other side of this coin is that it will require work of us. Early citizen involvement has been key to successful city startup. And keeping good government after city startup has also required ongoing and active citizen participation. A new city of Vista Grove would not be someone else's city. You wouldn't be on the periphery or stepping into someone else's plans and priorities. It would be your city. That means we have to vote for qualified leadership, show up at meetings, serve on committees, pay attention, and stay informed. You will be called upon to provide the planning and input to help shape the initial parks, planning, and road and sidewalk priorities, as well as other city projects. You will be needed to fill critical volunteer citizen committees and all of the roles that are necessary to making a city work well. Living here and as part of this effort, having an opportunity to talk with so many residents across our neighborhoods over these past years, I am fully confident that we as a whole are ready for and equal to the challenge of civic life in our own city. Our level of community engagement is high. We recognize the challenges of urbanization and of population growth around us, and we want to evolve and grow. We want to maintain not just the good, but a great quality of life. We're motivated by service ideals, and we've been willing to invest our time and resources time and time again in this community. We've demonstrated that over time. And there are no better set of qualities than those kind of service and participation and engagement ideals on which to found a city. Thank you again so much for investing your time with us this evening. I know we've been over a lot of information, and I want to refer you, if this is something that motivates and interests you, to vistagrove.org, our website, for more information and details on specific aspects of what we've discussed. You'll also find there other opportunities for staying informed and for volunteering with Vista Grove. We'd also like to ask you to consider, if you believe in this mission and movement, donating to Vista Grove. This is really important. Your contribution helps support this all-volunteer effort, including our programming, meetings like this one, and other educational outreach. So, we've been receiving questions over chat as we've been going, trying to answer some of them. And now we've also allocated time to address those questions now. So thank you again, and let's jump right into questions.